rumble. I am on my way to Borneo Dam in the east of the Free State to go for some carp fishing. It's a dam that I've fished now for the past 3 or 4 years. This dam specifically has now got me in such a grasp. I just love the place and I keep finding myself coming back here time after time again. This is actually where my passion for casting carp fishing started. My name on Instagram is Casting Carper, and therefore I do not use a boat. And hopefully on this trip I'll be able to show you some of the nice fish that reside in this beautiful farm lake that I just love to fish at. Also joining me on this trip is Gilbert Foxcroft, who needs no introduction at all, and we're looking forward to a mega session. It's very wet, the heavens have opened in this part of the country. It's a high rainfall area, but it's going to be an interesting one. And to top it all off, we've got a full moon coming up and it's overcast conditions, so every carp angler's dream. So let's hope for the best and show you guys some of these beautiful fish. When we arrived at the venue, the first thing we did, myself and Gilbert, was to look at the water and try and find signs of fish. And we both find 2 areas where the fish was topping and coming out of the water, jumping, showing us their presence. After that, both of us took the marker rod with the bare lead on just to have a feel of the bottom, and we were both very pleasantly surprised at the bottom of the venue was very hard. So we know that we can present our baits properly on the spots where we saw the fish. That then went on to us putting a marker float on the line so that we can measure the depth of the water on those spots that we found. Gilbert found an area that's about 4 meters deep at 125 meters out from the bank. I found a spot that's also about similar depth, maybe a little bit shallower, that's nice and hard, and it's about 110 meters out from the bank. So we were both very happy with the areas that we found and confident that we can put a bed of bait down there and present our rigs effectively to fish for these Borneo carp. So before I put any lines in the water, please remember to like our video. Let us know what you think about our videos in the comments below, and remember to subscribe so that you do not miss any future episodes. I'm hand lining a carp here on somebody else's old line, which is terrible. It means this fish has been stuck on this line for who knows how long. My cameraman is going to try and help me to land this fish quickly, and I'm giving line. It's not as easy as it looks. Obviously we don't want to snap the line again. This line is very thin, and obviously it snapped off maybe at night when the anglers was asleep, and it was tethered to this line. It's quite a nice fish. There we go. Luckily we can save this oak from all this line. Check this bunch of line. That's why there's no leader line on here. That's why you must always fish with balanced tackle. Obviously this is a result of unbalanced tackle, and we definitely need to sort this problem out. But luckily we can free this fish now. After finding the spots and putting some bait down, things were quite quiet at the start, just like expected. This gave us time to make some dinner and get ourselves filled up, ready for the evening that's ahead. Everything was quite quiet and very relaxed until about 9 p.m. when Gilbert's rods started giving some action. He caught about 9 fish that first night, some lovely fish. I think the biggest one was about 7.5 kilograms, but really enjoyable, and especially for him being first time on the lake, he really had a good first evening. On my side, things were a little bit slower, and I think that's due to the fact that I did not put any maize into my mix, and Gilbert had put a lot of maize and other particles in his mix, and that really got the fish feeding. And that's something to take into day 2, and that's something that I've definitely changed. Something that I've learned is to definitely get some maize and other particles in the mix, because once the fish start feeding, that maize gets the fish feeding, and once they start feeding on that, they also start picking up the other baits, the boilies and the tiger nuts and the other baits that I've put in my mix. So from that first night, there was definitely a lesson to be learned. At the break of dawn on day 2, I decided that I need to do something. I need to change something with my baiting approach to get the fish feeding just as actively on my spot as they were feeding on Gilbert's spot. So quite early in the day, earlier than I would usually feed, I actually decided to go out and put some bait down, with the majority of the bait being maize, hemp seed and crushed tiger nuts. Also, I added some whole and chopped boilies in there because I want the fish to actually start feeding on those boilies. But I knew by putting out a bed of maize, I would get the fish feeding and I would get their heads down and hopefully get them to take my baits more often. Throughout the day, I left the spot, gave it some time to rest. I found in the past that this is a very good strategy. If you put out a big bed of bait, don't fish straight over it. Leave it as long as you can, let the fish come in, let them start feeding confidently, and later on when you put your rods out in the afternoon, the fish are already confident and they feed much easily and they get hooked much more easily and you get more bites as a result of that. So that's exactly what I've done. But in the meantime, throughout the day, I have a little bay on my left, just a small bay where I've seen some fish activity. And this was primarily from spawning fish at the start of the session, but we soon realized by walking up and down that bay that not all of those fish were spawning fish, they were following the spawning fish. So I said, I'm going to put a bait out there with I'm just going to put a rig out there with no bait at all. So that's what I've done. I put a spinner rig out with a single pop-up, just a single bait out into the margin in about 3 foot of water, so very shallow water. But that's where I've seen the fish activity, that's where I've seen them swimming. So I knew there was a very good chance of a fish just coming by and picking up that bait. I just caught this beautiful common, about 5 kilogram. These fish cruise around in the margins all the time.